Now let's start writing Angular navigation code first, then we write the Next.js navigation code. So I will use command line since Angular has a schematics feature. So I'll use command line to create the components. Okay, for that ng generate component. I want to create a header with the links. Okay, so I created a component, header component. Okay, to use this header component, all I need to do is, oh, this is a CSS file. Okay, so the main app file, this is the first file that is rendered. So to use it, all I need to do is create the component. Okay, when I run ng generate, it will create a component under app folder. Okay, ng generate component name. It will have CSS, HTML, spec and TS file. HTML file will have actual HTML content. TS file will have actual functions and events. CSS is specific to this particular component. If you want to write a custom CSS for this particular specific component, you can keep it in this particular CSS file. And the spec file is to write the test cases, so we can ignore for now. Now after adding this app header, if you go and see, app header works, and within this app header, if you see, this is the content that we have. Now let's change this. I want to create navigation bar. Okay, within this I will add anchor tag. I'll say home login and maybe a contact. Okay, now if you go and see, there are 3 navigation bar items. Okay, let me just add a CSS for this, just to push the content to center align. Okay, display flux text align center, justify content center. So now the content is center aligned. Okay, so to add a navigation from one page to another page in Angular, okay, we use a thing called router link from the HTML. Okay, here what we can say is home and a login contact. Okay, but this will still not work. Okay, because we need to add the actual routing content. Okay, so to route, there is a file called app.routing.module.ts. This is the important file. This is where we write the actual routing. Okay, but before that, currently we don't have these 2 components, login and contact. Okay, for that I am going to generate 2 components. Okay, login and contact. So I am creating 2 components to navigate to. Now I have 2 components ready. Okay, if you see, you can check within this contact and login. Okay, now within the app routing, within this, there is a property called path. This path should be this particular content that you see, this string without forward slash. Okay, and what component it should load. Okay, it should load login component. Okay, so this is how you can import and write the routing in Angular. Okay, now let's validate. Okay, now I'm clicking login. See, login works. It navigated to login, and I'm clicking contact. Now it is navigated to contact. Okay, this is how you can write the navigation in Angular. Okay, the same thing. Now let's look at it in the Next.js, the same page routing. Okay, one page to another page navigation. Okay, now let me pull this to the left. Okay, so as a first step, I need to create navigation. For that, first I created a header on the Angular, right? So for that, I'm going to create a app header component. Okay, within the app, I'm creating a header.tsx. Okay, within this header, what I'll do is I'll add the same links. So this is a inbuilt link component that I am using. Okay, here you can give the path as login path. You can give a name login, and you can add one more called contact and a root URL which is of home. Okay, so this is equivalent to this. Okay, navigation bar with 3 links. Okay, now let's check. So okay, now we have not even imported this to the into page.tsx. That's why it is not listed. And also we'll add a class called header CSS, and we'll make an entry of this in the global CSS. Okay, the same thing, display flex, will center align this. So text align center and a justify content center. Okay, this will center align the content like Angular. Now we will import this header here. Okay, now if you see, we got 3 links. The same way we got 3 links here. So we got 3 links here, but currently we don't have a login page and contact page. Okay, let's write those files. And now I imported a header component into the main page.tsx. Okay, and the same thing we have done in the app component as well in the Angular. If you see, within the app component, I imported the header component. This is how we import in Angular. This is how you import in Next.js. Okay, now let's add the routing. Okay, within the SRC, we need to create a so the first step, within the SRC, we need to create a folder called pages. Okay, within this pages, I'm creating a file called login.tsx. Okay, also I'm creating one more file called contact.tsx. Okay, now let me just copy. paste. I'll say contact. Let's just display something. Contact page. Okay, the same thing goes to login as well. Let's say login. Okay, now let's check the navigation. So when I click login, so sometimes this Next.js is not directly working. Okay, let me restart the Next.js application. It is not picking up the change updates right away. So now I restarted it. Yeah, now if you see, the routing is working. Okay, right now the main page we have a home login contact. When I click login, it is navigated to login page. When I click contact, it is navigated to contact. Let's go to Angular. When I click login, login works, contact works. Okay, this is how you can write the basic navigation from the HTML file in both Angular and Next.js. Okay. The next thing is, let's look at how we can route using from the TypeScript file instead of navigating directly from the HTML. Okay. So let's start with Angular. Okay, instead of navigating from here, we'll add a button. Okay, navigate to, or directly I'll say login page and a contact page. Okay, when I click this button, I want to navigate. Okay, instead of clicking the actual link. Okay, so let me add a click event. So this is a function name. So go to contact. We need to write these two functions within the TS file. Okay, go to login and go to contact. So this is another way to route from the component instead of directly routing from the HTML. Okay, within this, if you want to use the routing within the constructor, okay, we need to import the router. So we need to import the Angular router component, which is of inbuilt Angular router. Okay, it is like use router in Next.js. Okay, so by using this router, when I click login, I'll use this router dot navigate, and within this I can give login. The same thing goes here, can give contact. Okay, now let's validate. So now login works, it is navigated. Contact works, it is navigated to contact. Okay, this is how we can navigate from the TypeScript file instead of navigating from the HTML. Okay, now let's look at how we can navigate the same thing in Next.js. Okay. So for this, I'll just copy these two buttons from Angular. Okay, here in the page.tsx, within here I'll add a div. Okay, this type of clicks won't work. So the on click event, okay, and the same goes here. Okay, within this, go to login. Here, go to contact. Now we need to add these two functions here. Okay, and the second one is go to contact. Within this, as a first step, we need to use router, which is of use router. Okay, and when you notice use router, this is of a router. Instead you need to use navigation because it is Next.js. Okay, so within here router dot push, and you can provide the URL login and contact. Now let's validate. Okay, what it is doing, saying, okay, it is asking, saying use the use client, otherwise it is, we are going with the client side. Okay, that is a directive. Now if you see, we have two buttons. This is not looking good. I will add a CSS. So I'm adding Tailwind CSS for this button. Okay, two buttons now I have. Okay, when I click login, it is navigated using router. When I click contact, it is navigated to contact. Okay, this is how you can add the routing in both Angular and Next.js.